On this episode, we revisit the compact state rules and then update them for 2019 with the queen of the compact states, Hannah Bryant. Atlas All Access starts now. Okay, so I wanted to do this for a little while, and you brought it up again in the email the other day. The compact state laws, rules have not changed dramatically, but they have changed again.
Well, last January, they rolled out the enhanced compact.
Yes.
So at that point, the states within the old compact had to choose if they wanted to update their policies and procedures to reflect the new enhanced compact rules, or they could bow out.
Okay.
There was only one state that decided to bow out, Rhode Island. It's an easy enough license. It's not a huge loss. No offense, Rhode Island. And then a couple states decided to join. A couple states waited till the very last minute and were making us all sweat. But they got it all settled. We just lost the one state. We actually gained a state last year, and we're gaining 2 states this year. Hopefully 3. I'm really hoping for 3.
All right, so we'll get to that, but we'll get to those states because I think that's important because they are states that use a lot of travelers.
Yep.
And it will definitely impact the industry for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's start from the very beginning though. Let's say you get a phone call from a nurse that just first time doesn't understand what a compact state license is. Define that for us.
Okay. So basically, it means that your home state, your tax home, where you're from, where you live, where you have worked and paid taxes in, where you have a property, either a mortgage or a lease that you maintain, that would be your tax home. If your tax home is in one of those compact states, you should be eligible for compact privileges. They're each going to have their own process. If you apply for the license, you include your address, any additional information they require, like Tennessee, they want to see your Tennessee driver's license. They're pretty strict. Other states are a little bit more lenient on what they require. So if you're putting your address in that state, they're going to verify that and they're going to automatically give you those compact privileges. Let's say that your state just joined the compact. So last year there were some states like Oklahoma, Florida that joined. So those nurses already licensed in the state, living in those states as their tax home, they had to do an additional application, additional fees, additional fingerprints to switch their single state privileges over to multi-state. Otherwise, they would have just continued to have that Florida, Oklahoma license. It was taking about 2 to 4 weeks depending on the state. So step 1, it has to be your tax home. Step 2, you have to make sure that you're putting the right information on that application. If you're on assignment in California and you put your temporary address in California on your license to change over your home state license to a compact, they're not going to issue that compact. All of that information has to match. If I live in Nevada and I decide that I'm going to use my uncle's address in Missouri to get the compact privileges, don't do it. Don't do it. That's not on the up and up. But there is some confusion, especially with newer nurses, about gaining those compact privileges. They think that they're just able to, that anybody can get them.
Right.
No, false.
Right.
You have to meet the criteria we discussed before.
Now we'll get to this a little bit here at the end, but there is a website that they can go to that has all of that information, correct?
And it's through the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, NCSBN.
We'll put that somewhere in here or in the comments section below.
And so when states join the compact, representatives from the council walk them through that process and get them updated so all of their processing and how they license their candidates matches the National Council standards.
So how many states are compact as of right now?
31.
31.
Over half.
That's fantastic.
Which is, even 5 years ago, it was way less than that. They've added 8, 9 states in the past 5 years.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it is completely different now than maybe it was when...
Give it another decade and we'll be almost at all 50.
Almost.
There are going to be some states, and they're always union-heavy states, that are very opposed to the compact. And a lot of those union nurses simply think that travel nurses take their positions, which is, it's fair of them to think that. I don't know how valid it is, but
yeah, I mean, I guess to a certain extent they have an argument there. But
yeah.
You're right. It's very union heavy states that don't want that at all.
Yep.
So or California.
Yep.
So
or California. California just wants the money. They get $100 per verification. Like I can't even imagine how much money that is for that board of nursing every year.
That's a lot. That's
and
a revenue source.
And they only have one person doing them.
That's a revenue source for
yeah.
them.
It really is.
Here's this. I'll age myself in the world of travel nursing. I remember when California was a walkthrough state. Like you could fly into Sacramento.
72 hours, done.
We had a hotel down the street that I was on first name basis with, and like we're gonna fly them in. They're gonna stay there overnight. They're gonna come through, do their walkthrough. They're gonna hang out for a bit. They're gonna stay there, and then they'll fly out the next day.
Well, it used to be the walkthrough, and then it went to the 72 hours. They just needed 72 hours to process your fingerprints, and then you get a license. And now we're at 6 weeks to 3 months.
Yeah.
It's a very wide.
All of a sudden, California's become New Jersey somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oklahoma, though. Oklahoma and Florida.
That was a big one.
Those
because that
huge.
License is a pain. Both of those licenses are pretty, I mean, they're upwards of 3 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
So it's a deterrent for a lot of nurses to get those licenses unless they have a specific motivation in getting there.
Sure.
But that used to be a big hang-up in placing those nurses. And that's why, especially in Oklahoma, you'd see such high rates because they needed those licensed candidates.
Right. Now, I guess this kind of gets off the topic a little bit, but one of the concerns that we had was that those rates would come down once Oklahoma became a compact state. Is that the case still?
No.
Okay.
No. They've stayed pretty steady. I haven't noticed a big change at all. I've seen less rapid response increased rates, incentive rates, but their base rate I don't think has dropped. And Florida, I feel it's dropped a couple bucks an hour, but
that's the difference.
I think that's more on the VMS side.
That's the difference between Florida and Oklahoma, though. No offense, Oklahoma. There's no Disney World in Oklahoma. How's that? I mean, there's fun stuff to do in Oklahoma.
Pioneer woman.
I'm not ripping on Oklahoma. I get it. I'm from Kansas. I can say this, and I live in Nebraska now, but. Let's go back, and you touched on this a little bit, the difference between, because there's still some information out there that may not be the most up-to-date, enhanced compact versus old compact versus...
Old compact's gone. Everything's now enhanced.
Everything now.
It has to be, yep. So that was what happened last January.
Rhode Island, out.
Yep.
Everybody's enhanced.
Yep.
Everybody.
And I honestly don't know what happened that made it enhanced. I think they just changed some of their regulations.
Okay. Well, like you said, Rhode Island is a very small state.
Yeah,
obviously.
and it's an easy license to get.
Exactly.
Fast, easy. Boom.
So there you go. So maybe it would just maybe they didn't see the value because they had that instead.
And a lot of these states think that they're under the impression that they lose money by joining the compact. That's not true either. Financially, they increase their revenue.
It makes their state more accessible.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so finally, let's talk about the states that are coming into the compact as of this year.
Yep. We've got Kansas and Louisiana in July. Louisiana was a walkthrough. It just makes once again, streamlines the process, makes it easier for the facilities. And Kansas was also a really easy license, but once again, just two more states that you can add on. So we're up to 33. Now, Indiana did pass the bill 11-0, and for some reason they are postponing the implementation, and I'm going to guess they didn't give themselves enough time to get everything switched over because they were looking at July. So fingers crossed that it's not completely off the table, but that one for now is still pending. And then Illinois, Michigan, Washington, New Jersey would be a huge one, and Rhode Island is thinking about coming back in.
I will bet you $1,000.
New Jersey doesn't happen?
No, Illinois doesn't happen.
I would probably agree with you there.
Yeah, it's
a pretty union-heavy state.
It is, yes. Yeah, but I think Jersey would be great, but they've been talking about Jersey for years.
Yeah.
Years.
So here's the other thing. Go to this National Council Board of Nursing website, pull up this map of these compact states, whether they're actively in it, they're implementing it, or it's going to vote. And if you hover over that state, maybe it is the state that you live in, it'll tell you exactly what bill it's going to vote for. So you, as a nurse, have the option, hopefully you choose, to vote and help get that into the compact.
Yep.
Agreement.
Or you could contact your representative or who else and say, hey, I'm a registered nurse in your state or in our state, and I support this. Or
and here's why.
And here's why.
They need that. They need that kind of feedback. It's important. And a lot of the states coming up, like New Jersey, that's a long license. Illinois, long license. Michigan, long license. So those would be states where you'd see a really big impact on the candidates that they're getting for those travel positions.
I think so too. So the more like grassroots effort that you have that you could participate in, the better.
Yep.
There.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you believe strongly in that, which I don't know why you wouldn't.
Right.
It just makes your profession better. It makes
Right.
it just makes travel nursing as a whole better.
Yeah.
Too.
And it's easier to track. Not that we want to look at disciplines or anything like that, but it's easier for these states to share information about those candidates. Whereas before, if I was maybe a nurse who wasn't the best of quality going from one state to another, I could get that temporary permit. I could get that license in the other state before my discipline in whatever state I was in caught up with me. So I'm still working on a clear and active license. Nurses or not nurses, but the compact agreement really helps eliminate that.
It just makes the profession better.
Yeah.
Because
more transparent, perhaps.
We would see that a lot at the hospital level is, and it's going to happen, or whatever, whether, it's, I guess, it was just part of life.
Right.
But we would see that where you would get a brand new nurse. She's going to apply for the license in a walkthrough state, let's say Missouri, because Missouri was super easy before it was compact, and they would do it in a day. And then start working on that license, and then all of a sudden that background check comes back with a hit on that other license, and you're like, oh, crud.
Right.
Now I got to call the hospital and tell them, wait a minute, and the hospital's saying, why the heck didn't you tell us this?
And they're not going to be able to do that walkthrough either.
Exactly.
Anytime there's a hit on that background, it has to go to the investigator. So that's going to tarnish your relationship with the facility, the nurse's relationship with the company, and the facility. It's just not.
It just makes our industry better.
Yep. Absolutely, I agree.
Awesome. Well, Hannah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Oh, for sure.
Being
Sorry,
on
I ruined your
today.
intro.
So that's okay. We won't air that part. That part will be just for the blooper reel later down the road. So
exciting stuff.
Yeah. So next week we are going to, I normally don't do this, but I'm excited for next week. Next week we're going to talk with Thomas Piper, who is the creator, you're Thomas's recruiter, yes?
I do work with Thomas.
You're not going to be be on that episode.
I know, I helped him do a lot of brainstorming though for the conference.
Well, you can't dominate every one of the.
Why not?
You could.
World domination is key.
You could. Anyway, we're going to talk to
Pinky and the
Thomas.
Brain?
Absolutely. We're going to talk to Thomas about the Travel Nurses Take Omaha conference. It's coming up in April. If you haven't signed up for that yet, check out the Facebook group. It has all the details, and then maybe a sneak preview of what Atlas might be doing after hours.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, all right?
All right.
We'll see you next week.